Darryl, thanks for coming out today and helping with this piece on intersectionality. And I understand that you're going to be speaking from your own personal place, your own feelings and thoughts. And I understand that you're not speaking for any group here. This is a personal statement.
Yes, I will, Alan, and thank you for the invitation to do this.
Awesome. So yeah, let's jump right in. So what are some of the historically excluded, or what we sometimes call target groups, that you identify as a member?
So obviously, I identify with the African American, with the Black community, and what may not be so obvious is that, or it could maybe to you, that I'm a homosexual or gay male. So those are two groups that are historically excluded target groups I identify with.
Thank you. So, of those two groups, being Black and being gay, does one of those have a bigger impact on, how you live your life and the experience that you have in the world on a day-to-day basis?
They both do. They both do. To your question, being a Black, especially a Black male, that does have a bigger impact. And so, in my day-to-day life, yeah.
Okay. And do you feel like there's times when you experience overlapping impacts, overlapping discrimination or bias?
Yes, often. It's hard to separate out why that particular, why I'm being singled out for what it is that an individual or a group of individuals are looking at in particular, whether it's because I'm a Black male or because I'm a gay male.
Okay.
It's hard to.
So sometimes you get a hit that there's some sort of bias or prejudice going on, and maybe it's not easy to dissect it out, but it's more of a felt sense.
Right, and usually it would probably be because of my skin color, because I'm a Black male.
Right. Gotcha. So, and this is kind of a hard question for me to ask, but do you experience yourself as having like one identity, like this is who I am, or do you experience different distinct parts of you? I'm a Black man and I'm a gay man, and those are separate, or or is it just like, this is who I am, this is me, and it's one identity? Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
It does, and I truly feel like I'm the sum of my parts. Okay, it's taken me a while, but I'm learning to embody all of that within myself, rather than separating that out. It's like the gold in the shadow. They both are part of me.
Right.
And as much as I may want to make them distinct, but they are part of me. And so, yeah. I don't know if that answers.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is basically you show up as who you are, and it's not like you show up, as a Black man here and you show up as a gay man here, but you bring all of who you are to every situation. That may not be how you're received, but that's how you show up. Would that be?
If I'm being honest with myself, and I'm not always honest with myself, but if I'm being honest with myself, yes, I'll show up with all parts of me present.
Yeah. Well, I can certainly relate to hiding parts of myself when I show up. So, yeah, that makes sense. And I would assume then that the context of where you are, whatever environment you're in, will determine kind of what part of your identity maybe reflects back.
Most definitely, I believe. Many times when I'm the first or the only individual of that group, that target group that's present, then I feel as if I'm the expectations to live up to the stereotypes and the generalizations that are expected, and it's up to me to dispel those generalizations, those stereotypes, by attempting to present myself as just who I am, rather than letting that drive the fact that I'm the only or that I'm the first.
So that's kind of an extra burden that's put on you.
It's always present.
Yeah, and the burden of, like, you must reflect all black people, or you must reflect all gay people. The burden of that. Do you think it's more challenging to find a community? Do you think it's more challenging to find a community that you feel safe or comfortable in because you're a member of multiple target groups?
For me, that's a safe community. That's a place where I feel safe. And for me, that's only available where there's trust. Where I trust individuals and the situation, and where those individuals trust me. And that can be very difficult to find if I'm not. I'll say I have that when I'm standing shoulder to shoulder, with those who celebrate who I am, and whether they're individuals like myself or allies, and that's when I can have that safe community.
Right. So I would imagine that's a kind of a fraction of your life. Being in those situations where you have trust and you're around allies. That's not, in other words, 100% of your day you're not surrounded by people like that. No. So when you're out in the general public or in community or working or whatever you're doing out in the world, how much of the time does it feel less than safe because of the combination of being black and gay? I mean, I heard you mention, being black is much more out there and obvious than being gay. But how much do you feel like this isn't safe because I'm black, and it's really not safe because I'm black and gay? Is that on the consciousness at all?
Well, for me, an assumption for me, for my safety, that I take is that it's never safe until it's proven to be safe, until that trust is, until I witness that trust, until I feel that trust. Because I just don't assume, because I don't have the privilege. I don't have white privilege. Okay? I can't just walk into a situation assuming. If I assume, more often than not, I'll find out that it's not what I thought it would be. It's not safe.
Right. So unless you have that personal relationship of trust, your basic assumption is that it's not safe.
Right.
Is that, yeah.
And that's a hell of a way to exist, to live.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but the majority of well, I'm going to say for myself, I would think that maybe majority of individuals, when they're out in a community that is not of their own,
Right.
that is how that their guard is up.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And certainly I can say as a white man that I don't have that experience. You know, for me, the assumption is most things are safe, and clearly, you know, there's a difference there. So this is, again, these are uncomfortable questions for me to ask. So when you're out in your day-to-day world, if you're not with the people that you've developed, you know, personal relationships of trust with, how much, and maybe you can't separate this out, and maybe I'm trying to do something that's not real here, but I'm wondering how much of your lack of safety has to do with being a black man, and how much of it has to do with being a gay man, or do they add up together, and, you know, being a gay black man makes it even less safe, more tenuous than being, you know, if you were a black straight man or a gay white man. I mean, is that even a fair question? Or
That is, and so being a black gay male is more unsafe. It's definitely, for me, may inhibit my actions, will make me think about what I'm going to share, what I'm going to expose of myself, and being a black male, I don't have a choice. When you see me, you make the assumption, well, this is a black male, and whatever generalization stereotypes you have about that, you know, you'll project upon me, and so I don't have a choice there with that. But being a gay black male, for me, so I can control to some degree what I expose to you of who I am as a gay male, and yeah.
Great, thanks, Darryl. Yeah, that's all very great, helpful information for me. I learned a lot from you. Is there anything else that you want to say around this? Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, Alan, I'd like to share that when you asked me to participate in this, and considering this, one of the factors for me in considering to do this was the note that you wrote to me, your personal note. And if I may, I'd like to read that.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so this is what you wrote, Alan. Personal note on this. And doing this work, as well as the cultural competency course over the past 6 months, I've realized that I could have a much better awareness about the cultural differences and the significance of those differences that might impact how you and I show up in leadership. I believe if I had that, I could have made different choices that may have led to a better experience for you and me around the Young Warrior training. I'm sorry for my ignorance, and I commit to being more aware and open to learning. Much love, Alan. So, Alan, for me, that personal note and what the work that you're doing here is one step for me in building a trust which I judge had been lost. So thank you much.
Yeah, you're very welcome, Darryl. I'm learning, and I've got a lot. And I made the analogy earlier today on the call that sometimes it feels like I'm I'm the wrong way on the escalator. Like I keep taking steps forward, and like the picture just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and I go backwards. So, but thank you very much, and I really appreciate you doing this with us today. So thank you.
Thank you.